When I was 7, my parents discarded me like trash to focus on their newborn. Now, they're frantically reaching out because their flawless daughter is wreaking havoc and shaming them publicly. Last week, a call from my biological parents shook my world, leaving me grappling with questions. They cast me aside at 7, and now they want me back because their golden child, Miranda, isn't living up to their expectations. To give context, my early years were a haze of neglect and loneliness. My parents, in their early 20s when I was born, were consumed by their ambitions. My father worked long hours at a law firm, while my mother pursued her master's degree. I have few memories of their warmth or attention, just their retreating figures always prioritizing something else. At home, I was invisible. My meals were often skipped, my schoolwork ignored, and my questions unanswered. Yet at family gatherings or when guests visited, the facade shifted. My mother would style my hair, dress me in fine clothes, and act like we were a picture-perfect family. My father would toss a ball with me outside, loudly asking about my day for others to hear. It was all an act. Once, I confided in my grandmother about their indifference at home. That evening, I overheard my parents arguing. The next day, my father sternly warned me that family matters stay private, threatening consequences if I spoke out again. By first grade, I was faltering. My teacher sent home reports about my poor grades and disruptive behavior. I couldn't focus, forgot assignments, and clashed with classmates. These notes triggered shouting at home, no inquiries about my struggles, just punishments. My father confiscated my toys. My mother made me stand in a corner for hours. After months of this, I realized misbehaving was my only way to get noticed. Being good earned me nothing. Acting out got their attention, even if negative. So I escalated, knocking over store displays, defying teachers, neglecting schoolwork. I didn't want to be bad, I just wanted them to see me. Around my 7th birthday, we had a small celebration, just me and my parents, no friends or relatives. Midway through unwrapping my few gifts, my mother announced her pregnancy. My father's face glowed with a joy I'd never seen. They embraced, oblivious to me sitting there with half-opened presents. It was the first time I saw them truly happy about family. 3 weeks later, I came home to find my mother packing my belongings. When I asked why, she stayed silent. My father later explained I'd be living with Aunt Patricia, my mother's older sister, who ran a bed-and breakfast hours away. He said I wasn't flourishing at home, and they wanted what was best. I pleaded to stay, promising to improve, to be silent, to excel in school. I clung to my father's leg, sobbing until my voice gave out. My mother never glanced at me, continuing to pack as if I were invisible. The next day, we drove to Aunt Patricia's. I tried every plea a 7-year-old could muster, promising to eat my greens, forgo toys, or vanish if that's what they wanted. Nothing swayed them. Aunt Patricia welcomed me with a warm embrace and showed me a room adorned with seashells and a blue quilt. My parents stayed 2 days, mostly talking with her in the kitchen while I sat alone in my new space. When they left, something inside me shattered. For 3 weeks, I barely ate or slept. Aunt Patricia sat by my bed, sharing tales of the sea or her guests, never pressing me to speak or heal, just being there. She tried arranging calls with my parents, but they rarely picked up. When they did, the talks were brief and stiff, focused on my grades, never my feelings. Soon, the calls stopped entirely. Strangely, I didn't miss them. Life with Aunt Patricia was steady and comforting. She asked about my day and listened. She helped with homework without impatience, displayed my sketches on her fridge, and boasted about me to guests. I began assisting at the B&B, carrying linens, setting tables, earning a small allowance that made me feel mature. At school, I thrived, making friends and earning praise from teachers. I no longer needed to act out. 6 months in, I told Aunt Patricia about my parents' neglect and their public pretense. I shared the corner punishments and their threats to keep quiet. I thanked her for rescuing me. She cried, which puzzled me. I thought I was sharing good news about my happiness. After that, her tone grew curt during rare calls with my parents, and she became fiercely protective of me. Over the next 12 years, I saw my parents only at major family events. We exchanged polite words, nothing more. I learned of my sister, Miranda, now about 11. We never bonded. Rumors hinted at her defiance, disrespecting teachers, clashing with adults, stirring trouble at school. Now 19, I'm studying hospitality management near Aunt Patricia's, aiming to inherit her B&B. I visit her weekends, learning the business's financial ropes. Last weekend, my parents called her landline. They don't have my number, and I prefer it that way. Aunt Patricia handed me the phone, her face uneasy. The call began with stilted chit-chat. They asked about college, praising my grades. Then my father hesitated and said they wanted a fresh start, suggesting I reconnect and perhaps move back after graduation. I asked why now after 12 years of silence. My mother confessed Miranda's behavior was tarnishing their reputation. They wanted me as their success story to flaunt to others. I refused outright, saying I wouldn't be their social prop. I credited Aunt Patricia for my achievements, emphasizing she raised me, not them. My father bristled, mentioning the monthly checks they sent. I scoffed. The amount was minimal, barely covering essentials. Aunt Patricia used her savings to ensure I had a good life. Their contribution was the legal minimum, nothing more. My mother called Miranda a disappointment and insisted I help as their son. That broke me. I told them they weren't my family, Aunt Patricia was. I demanded they leave us alone. A week after my post, I'm grateful for the supportive feedback affirming I'm not the a-hole NTA. It's validating. My parents haven't stopped contacting me, using new numbers and social media accounts despite my blocks. Their messages swing from guilt trips about destroying the family to demands for apologies. I've ignored them all. Last night, I discussed this with Aunt Patricia, who endorsed my choice to cut contact. She shared family gossip. Miranda was caught stealing at a mall last month, throwing a tantrum in front of my parents' friends. This happened days before her 11th birthday party, where my mother's sisters criticized their parenting publicly, suggesting they spoiled Miranda while failing to set boundaries. This humiliation likely spurred their outreach to me, desperate to offset claims of poor parenting. Aunt Patricia revealed that when I was sent to her, many relatives disapproved, believing my parents took the easy route instead of addressing my behavior. My parents spun a tale, claiming they sent me to her quiet coastal town for my special needs that vanished in a stable home. The more I learn about their manipulation, the firmer I am in cutting them off. I feel for Miranda. Our parents failed us both differently. They ignored me until I was inconvenient, then exiled me. With Miranda, they overindulged her while emotionally neglecting her when she didn't fit their ideal. Labeling an 11-year-old a failure is appalling. Her acting outmirrors mine, a plea for attention from parents obsessed with appearances. Some relatives have asked why I won't help with Miranda. They don't grasp that my parents don't want help, they want a trophy. If they cared, they'd seek professional support, not summon back the son they discarded. Yesterday, my father emailed, claiming they've grown since sending me away, learning from their mistakes with me and improving with Miranda. If so, why is Miranda echoing my old behaviors? Why call her a failure instead of recognizing her cries for help? If they contact me again with guilt trips, I'll lay out their parenting failures, mine and Miranda's, unfiltered. Confrontation isn't ideal, but sometimes truth must be spoken. On a brighter note, I'm excelling in my hospitality program. A professor recommended me for a summer internship at a luxury resort, valuable for my future with Aunt Patricia's B&B. She's teaching me about taxes, insurance, and business finances. Last night, she showed me old photos of my transformation. Early images showed a withdrawn boy, eyes down, shoulders slumped. Later ones revealed a confident teen, smiling boldly. I asked why she took me in. She said she always wanted kids but never found the right partner. When my parents offered me, she seized the chance, later learning of my neglect and growing to love being my guardian. I'll update if my parents resurface or if Miranda's situation evolves. For now, I'm focused on college and prepping the B&B for tourist season. Things have escalated since my last update. My parents called from another new number during a stressful midterm week. Exhausted, I snapped when my father demanded an apology for my disrespect. I unleashed years of pent-up anger, declaring they weren't parents to me. Aunt Patricia was. She attended every event, helped with every task, celebrated every milestone. Their checks barely covered basics. Aunt Patricia's savings gave me a real life. I accused them of failing Miranda as they did me, spoiling her without emotional support or boundaries. I said their only concern was their image, not their kids. My mother claimed Miranda's shoplifting was a one-time lapse. I laughed, asking if they recalled my issues vanishing with proper care. I told them they don't want to be good parents, just to look like them. Their reaction was vicious, hurling insults about my ingratitude and sacrifices they made. My father screamed they were glad to be rid of me, choosing Miranda because I wasn't good enough. After they hung up, I felt nothing. Their words no longer stung. Their outburst only confirmed their obsession with appearances. I regret I can't help Miranda, trapped with parents who prioritize image over her well-being. At 11, she's already labeled a problem instead of supported. Aunt Patricia suggested my confrontation might indirectly help Miranda by forcing our parents to see their pattern. It's a faint hope. Unexpectedly, my father's parents, grandparents I barely knew, contacted me. They've heard family whispers and want my perspective. We're meeting for lunch soon. I'm nervous but curious. The confrontation stirred the family. Aunt Patricia says relatives are questioning my parents' long-standing narrative. Their timing, reaching out post-Miranda's incident, raised suspicions. I don't relish their social fallout, but there's justice in their exposure. They built a myth of selfless parenting. Now it's unraveling. I'm focusing on finals and the B&B's summer rush. We're upgrading the website and booking system for June's full reservations. I'm also eyeing expansion. The neighboring property is for sale, and we're considering adding rooms or a small eatery. My parents' chapter is closed. Their final words clarified their stance, and I won't endure more manipulation. I'll update after meeting my grandparents or if Miranda's situation shifts. 2 months later, everything's changed. My parents stopped contacting me after family gossip exposed their struggles with Miranda's ongoing issues, disruptive school behavior and defiance. Their perfect family image is crumbling. Aunt Patricia broke her silence, telling relatives how my parents abandoned me for Miranda and how my issues resolved with her care. This, alongside Miranda's troubles, shifted family perceptions. Many who bought my parents' story apologized for not seeing the truth. My lunch with my grandparents stretched into 3 hours. They suspected my parents' neglect but lacked proof. Hearing my story and seeing my success with Aunt Patricia, they regretted their inaction. Then they took bold action. Concerned for Miranda, they petitioned for temporary custody, citing my experience, Aunt Patricia's insights, teacher reports, and family observations. A judge granted it last month. Miranda's with them now, adjusting to their structured home. They're seeking permanent custody with parental visitation. Miranda contacted me via our grandparents' phone. Our parents had banned her from reaching out, calling me a bad influence. We've talked several times, and I'm hopeful about connecting. She's hurt but curious about me. I avoid bad-mouthing our parents but answer her questions honestly. Aunt Patricia invited her to the B&B next month, and our grandparents agree it could show her diverse family dynamics. I'm eager yet anxious to share my sanctuary with her. My parents are increasingly isolated. Their victim narrative isn't sticking as relatives learn the truth. Rumors suggest they might relocate for a fresh start, echoing their solution with me. I'm unsure if this is my final update. Life is unpredictable, but I'm where I belong with people who care. Aunt Patricia remains my foundation, and I'm thankful daily for the home she gave a broken 7-year-old. Family isn't blood, it's who shows up, stays, and loves you through the hard times. By that measure, Aunt Patricia is my true family.